the Wendigo, Skinwalkers.
Wendigo?
I don't
The
know.
Winnebago?
The Winnebago.
Yes, the Winnebago, yeah.
The mythical Winnebago.
Driving through the icy glaciers, hunting down people to give them a recreational vacation wherever they drive.
Welcome to Monsters and Multiclass, your weekly Dungeons and Dragons fix. I'm Kevin Odie.
I'm Jared Morgul.
And I'm Will Melby.
And we'll be hanging out with you for the next hour to talk about anything and everything D&D related. This week we're looking at the Cleric Monk Multiclass and then the Leucrotta from Volo's Guide to Monsters. So pull up a chair and stick around.
All right, so our two classes today are the Monk and the Cleric. Monk is a martial arts specialist, usually devoted to some craft, whereas the Cleric is devoted to some god. Cleric is a full spellcaster. Monk is a purely martial class with a couple subclasses that throw in some odd magic here and there. First thoughts, Will?
So this is, I don't know. Cleric as a caster is a bit of an interesting one because they are the only ones that could theoretically get heavy armor and start with medium armor. They are very much viewed as a armored and weaponed spellcaster, which with this combination with the monk does not exactly jive well. Another mechanic that doesn't work well is there's a lot of hidden bonus actions in the cleric, and the monk has always been a very bonus action heavy class.
Right off the bat, spirit weapon is a big one for clerics, and that's a bonus action to do anything with. So
healing word too.
Healing word, yeah.
So.
I mean, you're losing a lot of those. Kevin?
So I feel like I'm, especially compared to Will, the more optimistic one with this. So like, we'll try and figure this out and make it work. Oh, we could do this. I'm throwing out the window here. I don't like this one. I have the tiniest amount of notes on this, and they're all negative. It's just I do not like it. I do not think the mesh well together. I think they're two classes that excel at being pure, so to speak, I guess. Like they get linearly better as they go. They're just going to water each other down. The stuff does not mesh well together. They don't build well off each other. In RP and flavor-wise, you could do what you get from the cleric monk, you could easily do from just being a cleric and giving yourself a certain background, or vice versa, a monk and a certain background.
The sage or hermit background.
Yeah. Oh, I don't mean like literally backstory. I don't mean the literal. Yeah.
But literal background as well.
Yeah.
I mean, a cleric raised in a temple. It's kind of monks raised in a temple.
Yeah, there's a lot of at like the D&D monk, at least in 5th edition, it kind of divorces itself from the heavy religious aspect a little bit. But I mean, a monk is a religious person, like by just like within the real world and all that. It's like you cannot divorce monk from something that's religious. Even if you go like in like the kind of Eastern philosophy stuff, it's still like they're Buddhist monks. It's Hindu monk. It's still a religion. It's okay, if you want to get technical, Buddhism, people argue is more of a philosophy, but whatever. We're not going to get into that here. But
I was say, the important thing here is that I don't know enough about that to really speak to it.
Right.
But no, I totally get that. In D&D, it's not religious at all. But I mean, if you just want to throw that in, it's not.
Yeah, you could be a monk that instead of you're at this monastery where it's all spiritual stuff, it's at a temple dedicated to a god. But how you serve them is through inner power and all that.
And they also teach you karate.
Sure. Or you train it yourself or whatever.
Flavor-wise, I always see them starting almost at the same path. This desire for a certain devotion towards a certain thing.
Right.
But then taking it on a mechanical level to a different way. Like, I want to be a conduit for God's energy through spells versus I want to be a conduit of God's energy or whatever God through my purity of body. You can't like do both without watering it down.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
The purity is lost.
So, I mean, right away, you have an issue of armor. So the monks have their unarmored stuff. And then, if they're not wearing armor, their armor's 10 plus dexterity plus wisdom. Sure, great feat. And then a lot of their abilities depend on them not wearing any armor.
Right. Yeah. Unarmed defense, unarmored movement. Both of those, it's right in the name. Unarmored.
Right.
You can't wear armor.
Right. And then the clerics, by default, to give you medium armor, and a lot of the subclasses give you heavy armor. And the AC is probably going to be higher than what you would get from the unarmored stuff, the unarmored defense. So it's you're then ignoring that.
One thing that's good is the skill attributes do have some nice overlap. Wisdom is all that you need, and dexterity.
Yeah.
So wisdom, dexterity, pretty easy
Sure.
to get.
Yeah.
Your wisdom stat is pretty important as a monk. It's very important as a cleric because that is your spellcasting modifier. That's not saying that that's a really great combination, but it's a nice cherry on top of the shit sandwich. Mixing metaphors. That, you know, at least you're not. At least it's not like you need to be a strength monk or something, and it's like, oh, crap.
Right.
You know, it's going to be hard to get everything up there.
Yeah, and then the clerics, their real power comes from their spellcasting. They have a decently unique spell list, and they're full spellcasters. And I feel like anything that really slows that down needs to give you a really big benefit. And what do you get for slowing down the cleric's spellcasting by multiclassing in the monk? An ability that's worse than you just wearing armor. And then other abilities where if you want them, you need to take off your armor anyways, and then you get extra movement speed. You get 1d4 to unarmed attacks. Like, why would you ever do that over like Toll to Dead or something like that?
So there is the one thing that they do get is extra attack. A cleric is a mono attack character.
That's true.
Sure.
But it's also designed around that. So you getting an extra attack does not benefit the cleric. It was never meant to have an extra
I don't think there's
attack.
many clerics whose go-to is making an attack roll over a cantrip. Most of the time. I mean, there's just a lot of good cantrips, and they scale really well. So why would you try and get up in the fight every single time if you don't need to? Especially with a high wisdom modifier.
Yeah, well, if you have... Yeah, if you're like Will's current cleric, Saucy, it's 22 AC. Like, you usually are up in the fight, but you're still using cantrips instead of whacking things with your warhammer.
Right.
Because they're not attacks, they're saves.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. This is a tough one.
Yeah, and that if you really want the extra attack for cleric, you have some build we're not thinking of, you know, whatever. I would rather go like fighter. You get so many better things than that with it. Like, you know, you get accent surge, and you get a fighting style, and
one thing that kind of goes over well is cleric at 8th level with your divine strike. You get 1d8 damage with a melee weapon attack. With monk, if you're doubling that, you get
it once per turn.
Does it say once per turn?
Yeah.
Once on each of your turns. Okay.
Yeah, the cleric is
All right.
designed not to have multiple attacks, and giving him multiple attacks, I'm not seeing. where
Okay,
that's
so
really
what do you
helping.
get on a 3-level dip into cleric? I know the answer is not much. So you get spellcasting up to you get 2 second-level spells and 4 first-level spells. Your channel divinity, which can be good. I don't know if there's any that particularly go over well. I mean, grave domains is always good. Just getting giving something vulnerability to all damage type, or just the next damage type.
the next attack. The next attack
It
they have
doesn't
vulnerability.
really go over well with monks because monks are about getting a lot of attacks, not
Right.
giving one attack that does a lot of damage.
Right.
So not really impressed by that. Is it?
I mean, like the Arcana domain, you can essentially use Turn Undead, but against like a Fae or Fiend or something like that. It has its uses, I guess, but
For which one?
Arcana
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's not bad.
domain. But again, why is it good for a monk to have that? It's just if you have a particular flavor in mind. That's the only. If you have a monk and you want to be able to do something specific, this would be the type of thing I would. If you really have a specific character in mind and you want mechanics to back up your role play where just a backstory won't do it, sure, pick something. I think your best bet is to go mainly monk with a small dip into cleric. I don't see any benefit for the other way around. So if
No.
you're mainly a cleric and you dip into monk, so you get the unarmored defense, which is in direct contradiction with having medium or heavy armor.
Right.
You get martial arts, so you can make unarmed attacks and stuff for 1d4s. Like, why would you do that as a cleric? Or use a monk weapon? And then you could do the bonus unarmed attack. I just don't see a cleric, especially if you're a higher level cleric, choosing to ever do that. 2 levels in, you get key. So great, but it's going to be super limited. So that's when I was saying like the benefit from being pure for the monk. It's the key. It scales linearly with their level.
Yep.
And you kind of want the monk to have as most key as possible.
Right.
Otherwise, it's super limited.
Right. I mean, sure, you get patient defense. If you go 3 levels into monk, you get patient defense 3 times per short rest or step of the wind. So you get a bit more movement and just being able to move around the battlefield. But I'm not super concerned about that as a cleric.
Right.
That's really not my focus. Flurry of blows is going to be basically wasted. I mean, what about something like Kensai Monk? Just pulling stuff out here. It might just make the cleric a little bit better melee-wise or attack-wise.
And it takes a while before you really start seeing like 6th level, and then you got some decent stuff. But out of the gate, it's, I don't know.
I mean, agile parry's not bad, but you have to make an unarmed strike as part of your attack action and holding a Kensai weapon. You get +2 bonus to your AC.
So another thing to mention though is a lot of clerics are going to be the shield one-handed weapon style, which I think doesn't really directly preclude the monk being able to kick people in the face.
No, it does not.
No.
But
can a monk hold? A monk can hold a shield.
Can they?
I don't see why not. As long as they have proficiency in it, it does not count against their armored stuff normally, unless that's directly contradictory.
Well, unarmored defense, when you're not wearing armor, not wearing a shield.
Okay. Well, if you're ignoring unarmored defense, then it doesn't matter. But what about unarmored movement? I'm sure it's the same stuff.
Pulling it up.
Yep. Wearing a shield.
Yeah.
So you're just completely eliminating 2 of the most important monk things.
So I think
would say most important, but
we are concluding that a monk dip is probably one of the dumber ways to use your level up as a cleric.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we really, all right, cleric.
What can we get from 3 levels of cleric, or 3 or 4, whatever?
All right, so I think the focus is going to be what channel divinities can we use?
Right.
What comes out of the gate? Decent spell casting. If you want to have some healing aspect to your monk.
Yeah. So it's the type of thing. It's. I don't think I would ever call this multi-class combination optimized in any way, shape, or form. It's again, if you have a very specific character concept you're trying to realize. You have a monk and you dip into cleric a bit to get certain cleric spells and stuff. Like if you have a monk who you want them to be able to also heal as well, you could dip into cleric. It was in the life domain or something. I want to be thrilled with it, but it will work. In terms of role playing, like you have a Way of the Long Death with the grave domain fits perfectly. They deal with the same stuff about the barrier of life and death and things like that. And I do like the grave domain cleric a lot.
Yeah.
As we just talked about, the channel of divinity with the vulnerability. So it's the next attack, not your next attack.
Right.
So again, it's nothing specific to the monk, I guess.
Nope,
but
you can
it's
do it for your paladin to
exactly
get a great strike.
it's the perfect ability just to team up with somebody.
So you
have the paladin hold their great weapon master great sword attack.
And you have your wizard who has portent give him his 20.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking, yeah.
So, yeah, sure, there's the setup, but you know, once again...
It's nothing to do with being a monk.
Nothing to do with being a monk. 0 things to do with being a monk.
Yeah.
I mean, War Priest, it's... We've talked about before, War Priest, or War Domain is really nothing special in general.
Yeah, any class that's going to be giving you that heavy armor, because heavy armor is a big, big thing when you're getting that as a cleric.
Yeah.
But as a monk, if you're dipping, that is a huge waste.
Yeah.
So anything that gives you heavy armor, kind of out of the gate, throw it away.
Okay.
And that's the biggest part with this class. It's just you got to throw out some of the better aspects of it to get anything.
Flavor-wise, I could see Light Domain and the Sun Soul going over pretty well.
But as far as I can tell, there's really no good overlap there.
No.
Mechanically.
It'd definitely be mostly a flavor thing. Warding Flare. When you're attacked by a creature within 30 feet, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on the next attack roll. That's all right. I mean, that's a good use of your reaction. Monks don't specifically rely on reactions much. So, okay. I mean, it's a good...
It's kind of weird design choice. I never really thought about that. They don't...
Use the reactions much?
Yeah, they have the deflect missile.
Yep.
But
that's it.
Is that really it?
That's all that's coming up on me.
What about anything in Way of the Open Hands? This has nothing to do with clerics, but whatever. We can get off topic. We're struggling here. All the open hand techniques are when you hit them. And to me, it feels like it'd be a very monk thing where they have a lot of uses and unique uses for their reaction.
Mm-hmm.
That's like classic monk.
Drunken Monk does get it.
Okay.
Whenever a creature misses a melee attack roll, you can spend 1 key as a reaction to cause that attack to hit one creature of your choice.
Oh, that's
other than
really
the
good.
attacker, which is cool, and that's one of my favorite parts of the Drunken Monk.
Yeah, no.
Right.
What level is that?
That's it's only level 6.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Again, nothing to do with the cleric. I think the light domain would actually be a pretty good dip, though. Their channel divinity is just flat out pretty good.
What's it do again?
As an action, you present your holy symbol, and any magical darkness within 30 feet of you is dispelled. Additionally, each hostile creature within 30 feet of you must make a con saving throw. Creature takes radiant damage equal to 2d10 plus your cleric level on a fail, half as much as on a success. If they have total cover, they're not affected. So it's just some damage. It's nothing particularly great, but it's an AoE, which is cool. I mean, it's not particularly great, but then you can use your bonus action to Step of the Wind out of there. I don't know. Nothing with Monk, but it doesn't step on the other one. So I think that's not a bad one to go down. You do not get your heavy armor for that. You still have medium armor. So, make your choice which one's better. There is the possibility that not wearing armor is better AC-wise if you only have medium armor, because medium armor can only give you a +2 with your dex.
Right.
So I think the most you can get is 15, or not 15. Sorry, 17. I think scale is 15 +2. It doesn't.
Great.
That's getting a little bit too numbery. But if you get your wisdom to 5 and your dexterity to 5, you've got 20 AC, and so there it's better to be unarmored.
Right.
But the amount of times is going to be pretty limited.
Yeah.
And then you get some pretty okay spells. I mean, Fairy Fire could be really useful to Fairy Fire a bunch of enemies. Now you have advantage on...
Sure, yeah, give yourself advantage on all those monk attacks.
I mean, hell, this is actually probably a better way to get Burning Hands.
I was just
than
about to
Way
say
of the
that.
4 elements.
Yeah. I would rather do a 3 dip into the light domain than I would go into the way of the 4 elements. Just flat out.
That's terrible, but yeah.
You get Flaming Sphere, you get Scorching Ray, you get all of the things that Way of the 4 Elements gives you at 3rd level.
Right.
Besides Fireball, you'd have to go to 5th level in Cleric for Fireball.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, probably wouldn't do that, but the option's there.
Yeah.
5 into that, and then 15 into Monk. You're still better than 20 in Way of the 4 Elements. Just flat out.
Yeah.
Oh, but you can't cast Water Whip.
Best bonus action.
You mentioned the Sun Soul
Yeah.
with light. What about the Sun Soul?
Not much.
Just the
they
flavor,
do
even.
fire
Just
thing.
flavor. That's it.
Okay.
Yes.
So, what's your thought on that subclass? We've had monks come up quite a few times, and it never talk
Don't love
about
it.
Sun Soul. I don't like it either.
I mean, you get your attack from 30 feet away, but
You get a ranged.
you can't make your extra attack, right? You can't use your monk like offhand attack with the ranged one. Like
You have to
right.
spend.
Oh, you mean the bonus, the
get
martial
the
arts bonus action? Like if you attack with a monk weapon, you get a bonus action attack with unarmed.
Right.
I don't think so.
No, unless there's something right next to you, which if there's something right next to you, why would you be shooting a missile out at them?
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
great.
So when you take the attack action on your turn and use a special attack, the Radiant Sunbolt, you can spend 1 key point to make the special attack twice as a bonus action.
Okay, and
But
Flurry
then-
of Blows lets me make 2 extra attacks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it said this just scales with your unarmed damage dice. It's not like it's more damage. It's just a ranged,
Yep.
which is not really the monk's strong suit.
It does radiant damage, I believe, which can be really useful if you're in that type of campaign where you're fighting things that are vulnerable to radiant damage, but that's few and far between. I mean, not entirely few and far between, but it's just not something I'd go into a subclass for.
Right.
Overall, Way of the Sun Soul has never been too impressive for me.
Right.
And also you're going to get some overlap if you do go into the light domain, because you get Burning Hands at level 6 for 2 key. You can cast Burning Hands as a bonus action, which is really good. I'm not going to lie. 2 key points, Burning Hands as a bonus action
You think that's good?
for a bonus action.
I think 2 key points is way too expensive. At that level, you have 6.
Yeah.
And at 6th level, Burning Hands is what, 3d6? 2d6? I think it's 3d6.
Yeah, 3d6.
That's not a lot.
I
I'd
guess you're
rather
better
use-
off doing Flurry of Blows in
Yeah.
2 different rounds.
Yeah, except for in really specific situations where there's like
when you have a
mob of-
cone of
It's a cone.
enemies
It is a
in
cone.
front
Yeah.
of you.
So there's a very specific time when it's extremely useful, and I guess I'd be happy to have it. But otherwise, you're right. You're right. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if the enemy placement's there, it's good.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's also not the only thing you get.
It is at 6th level.
Well, I mean, as the entire thing. But yeah, that's the same price as Way of the Four Elements. Way of the Sun Soul, it seemed like they wanted to make a ranged monk, but they didn't at the same time. So they
Yeah.
were like, all right, it's a ranged monk, but it's not. And they just kind of walked away from it.
The monk
The-
doesn't get enough
I don't
love.
know. The baby fireball at 11th level, I don't know.
I don't like that.
It's
I really-
2d6, 20. It's just not great.
It's 1 key point to hurl that?
No.
Oh, wait, you just get that? As an action, you magically create an orb and hurl it at a point you choose. Where it erupts, it's a 20-foot radius, con save, 2d6 radiant damage.
You can
and you
spend
can spend
up to
key
3 key.
to increase by 2d6 each. That's actually not bad.
I mean, yeah, so just a free 2D. Well, not a free 2d6 damage.
An
It's
action.
an action.
And 2d6 at 11th level is so crappy.
Yeah, again, it's on the situation if they're really.
Don't think
Mob
about it
together.
like 2d6. Think about it 2d6 per thing it hits.
Right.
That's very different. I mean, that could potentially be a 20-foot radius. That's a lot.
But I think this is you kind of got dunked on by Treant Monk, like trying to defend the monk class. And
I
he's
did.
right. It's like, yeah, you can create these situations in your head that justify this,
Right.
but like, how many times are you like, oh, there's a 20-foot circle filled with undead.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and they're all just getting better and better as we hit them, unless we can do 2d6 radiant damage.
Well,
that'll end the
In that
encounter.
scenario, it scales really well because now you're putting up, for each key point you're putting up, that's another 2d6. I'd say that one scales a lot better than Burning Hands does, putting another key point
Yes.
into that. So
Right.
if this specific scenario comes up, you're probably not just going to throw your 2d6 Spirit Bomb, you're going to throw your 8d6 Spirit Bomb in there and do a lot more damage. But it's not like Fireball, where you get half on a success. If they save, they take no damage. So, big womp womp from me there.
Yeah. Man, what I think they should have done is when you spend a key point, that should immediately enact the half on save,
That'd be nice.
because that's the way D&D works. If it's a free resourceless thing, it's succeed or doesn't.
Yep.
But as soon as you start spending resources on it, imagine that 8d6 and like everything passes. And
It's
you're like,
not-
wow.
Well, that's not entirely true. There's a lot of spells that are spell attacks and just could be completely miss. I mean, what's a Chromatic Orb right off the start? I mean, that's like 4
That's not even a damage spell.
Chromatic Orbs? Totally a
Yeah.
damage spell. But it's a spell attack, one thing. It's not even like Scorching Ray where you've got 3 of them.
Yeah.
It's just one thing you send out. If it hits, it does some
But
damage.
it is when it's a save. It's when it's if you
Correct. You're
if
right.
it is a save you're spending resources on to do,
Yeah.
that's when the half damage comes in.
Yeah.
Unless it's disintegrate,
Yeah.
Unless it's disintegrate.
which is the dex save, but that has its benefit. It's the highest single target damage spell in the game by a wide margin.
How much is it? It's like 10d something.
Plus 40. I
Plus
know. I
40.
know. It's
All that
plus
matters
40.
is the plus 40.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
feels good.
Really? How would you know? You've never hit one.
I hit one. I cast that spell like a dozen times. But I definitely
You were
disintegrated or
cursed.
something.
That was awful. I think I was DMing at that time. I might have just been lying to you for the joke of it. It's not true.
It wasn't funny.
No.
It was a very unfunny
No.
joke.
They just disintegrates really, really painful like that. If it doesn't hit, you just wasted a level. What spell?
6 or 7.
Yeah, that sucks. Sucks real bad.
Yeah.
Just like the Monk Cleric multiclass.
Right. Tempest domain.
That's all right. This is
Yeah.
what I was thinking. I saw the Tempest domain, and I'm like, you know, it'd be really cool. A lightning monk.
Would it? I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I,
I
don't
mean, that'd be
disagree.
cool.
Sorry, I just assume that every time you talk, it's sarcastic.
It was a little sarcastic. I have no mechanics in mind. I'm just
Right.
imagining thunder fists.
Okay.
End of flavor.
Or
I guess.
Raiden.
Or Raiden.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think
Yeah.
that's probably the more well
With the Kensai monk?
No,
Ooh,
no.
okay.
Raiden? He's the guy with the sword, right?
No, Raiden's the guy with the hat.
Yeah.
This is
He-
Metal Gear, right?
No.
Oh,
Mortal Kombat.
sorry. I'm pretty sure a guy named
Raiden.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the star of Metal Gear Revengeance.
Yeah, it's not important.
But yeah, no, he shoots lightning bolts out his eyes and hands and stuff.
Okay.
And he, when he throws his head, it chops your head off.
Ooh, how do we work that in?
That's like a Kensai thing, man. That's a Kensai thing.
They throw their shurikens, it just chops off heads. As a reaction, chop off a head.
Yeah, that's a stalling tactic. The Kensai monk, you should flavor it kind of like the weird magic. It's weird martial arts. You throw your hat, you throw your shoes.
I agree though. Tempest Domain would not be a terrible dip. That's another reaction one. You can thunderously rebuke attackers. When a creature within 5 feet of you that you can see hits you with an attack, you use your reaction, makes a dexterity saving throw. It takes 2d8 lightning or thunder, or half on a success. You can use it equal to your wisdom modifier, which should be pretty high, but it only resets on a long rest. It's not bad. You're not losing anything from that. Once again, you're not gaining that much, but we've already established that.
And then, unfortunately, you get Destructive Wrath.
Doesn't help that much.
Where's the lightning coming? What lightning or thunder damage can you do? As far as I can tell, the only one is going to be Thunderwave.
Thunderwave, and then this Wrath of the Storm, which isn't too impressive. You're going to use your Channel Divinity to max out the 2d8.
That's not good.
No, it's not worthwhile.
And you get the heavy armor. It's
on the other hand, though, we could say that it's not that bad either. I mean,
I don't know. It's pretty close to the bottom. All of this stuff's really close to the bottom. The only thing I see is if you really wanted a monk that could heal just a little bit, I still wouldn't do this.
No, I still wouldn't either.
Any
trying.
interesting backstories for this?
Absolutely not.
Just like an incredible series of bad life decisions.
Yeah, again, anything I come up with, it can be handled in either the monk or the cleric class alone. Where we kind of already hit on it at the beginning there. Where,
Right.
Yeah, you have a person they're brought up in a temple. They're very devout to the god or goddess of the temple. They devote their lives to doing the necessary task that needs to be done by this god. They are their sword, their right hand and a fist type deal. And so mechanically, they're a monk.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fine. It meshes it well. The other way, they're the cleric and a. Yeah, I got nothing.
No, unfortunately, it's one of those situations. Like when you pursue, say, a biology education, you'll eventually get to the point where you either want to go macro or microbiology. That's usually how people do it. Now, if you do both, no one's going to look at you weird. It's not even interesting. It's just you chose a middle of the road path on this particular path. You're going the same place. There's nothing that unique.
Right.
You're just, I don't know, you're just throwing levels away for weird stuff.
You're really going to upset our macro major.
They're completely different. I get they're completely different, but you can know both.
I mean, that brings me to a question. Before I ask this, though, is there anything else you guys want to talk about with this one? I'm happy to move on.
Sure, we can move on.
Okay.
Wait, Shadow Monk, Light Cleric, you can dispel your own darkness.
Great. Never mind. I take it all back. That's a 10 out of 10 thing right there.
Could have just stopped concentrating, but I did that instead.
I guess to wrap it up and add on the smallest positive notes,
Okay.
and I'm basically repeating what I already said. If you have a character concept in mind that is not realized from just like a clever backstory, sure, go ahead and do it. You're going to be an okay monk and an okay cleric, and you'll kind of bounce back and forth between the two play styles. But yeah, whatever. It's D&D. If you're going to have fun playing that character, do it. Don't not do this because we're sitting here shitting on it mechanically. It's like
do your thing.
Yeah, do your thing.
That's it.
Yeah, play the character you want to play if you think you'll be fun.
Yeah,
Sure.
Which is actually a really good segue for me. Just asking if you're listening right now, is this interesting? Like honestly, not just is this class combination interesting, but there's a lot of times we run across multi-classes that probably aren't going to be good. This isn't the first time. It's not the last time.
You mean Barbarian Wizard wasn't a jump?
I really do wonder, and feel free to let us know if this is something that is still interesting to you and hearing about why it doesn't work. Hopefully so. I still had fun talking about it, even if we're just saying, hey, this class is garbage. But feel free to let us know. And at this point, I'll plug our Twitter, because it's always a good place to let us know these things. That is at monsters_multi. Let us know your thoughts on episodes. Keep up to date on teasers and whatever else, and just have some D&D conversation, because we all need some more people to talk about D&D with. And now we'll move on to our monster of the week. This week, our monster is the Leucrotta. So usually we give some type of intro on this, but Volo's Guide to Monsters, where this monster is housed, actually just gives the perfect summary, and I don't think I can do a better job, so I'm going to steal it verbatim. A Leucrotta is what you would get if you took the head of a giant badger, the brain of a person who likes to torture and eat people, the legs of a deer, and the body of a large hyena, put them together, and reanimated them with demon ichor without bothering to cover up the stink of death. So that sounds like one of our crappy intros, so I love that. Leucrotta, it's a different type of gnoll. It is another follower of Inogu, who we did an episode on gnolls a couple back. Definitely worth checking out. Yeah. But we missed the Leucrotta, and it's really cool. It's really just another form of a gnoll. Gnolls are hyenas that followed Inogu and ate some of the corpses he killed and turned into gnolls. Well, sometimes they turn into Leucrotta. The reasoning is just completely glossed over, which is fine with me. Who needs it? But they're, I won't say extremely different than gnolls, but they have the rampage ability. I don't know. First thoughts?
Before we jump into it, let's not forget that this was a fan recommendation off of Twitter from Stephen R. Knoll. So thank you.
Steven,
we're not talking about it. Yeah, if anyone else says, what'd you say?
For shilling your kind.
Yeah, if anyone else has any other monsters want us to talk about,
his
on
is
Twitter.
His is Knoll with Knoll. It's a different Knoll.
It's a different silent letter. What's wrong with
Is that how you spell like a grassy knoll, or is that just NOL? I don't know.
Just like the Leucrotta is
hard.
a different kind of Knoll. So is he. Perfect. All right.
Yeah,
so now
thoughts.
First thoughts about these spawn of Inogu.
I like them. I mechanically they're a little dull. Flavor wise, it's fantastic. I mean, they're terrible, evil things. Like if all you do is read the flavor of them without a physical description, you're gonna picture some like evil, menacing humanoid that has like its lair where it captures people and chains them up and tortures them and does all sorts of terrible things. But this is a four-legged beast.
Mm-hmm.
It has hooves. It has a tail. It's like, I mean, it just looks like a kind of like a terrible demon dog.
Right.
It's a weird mix where there are these intelligent, vindictive, cruel things that like to toy with their victims and torture them and all that. But you're looking at it and thinking, yeah, this is just this terrible, mindless beast. But
one of my favorite parts.
It's actually more intelligent than other gnolls.
Yeah, it is more intelligent than other gnolls. And what it does is it has learned how to prolong a victim's suffering. And for that, gnolls love it because they can just gather around and gnolls just feed off of suffering and torture and all of these sick, twisted things. But they're dumb. So they're like, oh, how do we torture this thing? Let's bash his head in with a rock. And then they bash the head in with a rock and they go, well, that was fun. Well, let's find another one to bash the head in with a rock.
And then they eat it.
Yeah, and then they eat it and then they move on. This thing's like, well, what if we just...
real weak shit like that.
real boring stuff. It's like, well, what if we, tore open the stomach and then every 5 minutes just kind of poked the innards and watched them scream.
Oh, and then filled it with ants.
Basically, yeah. Jesus. Like just really messed up stuff. So whereas gnolls are stupid and crazy, this thing has a bit of intelligence to it where it's 9.
It's intelligent than a lot of player characters. More intelligent than a lot of player characters.
More intelligent than my current player character. Yeah. That's actually, pretty smart, especially when it comes to a monstrosity.
Yeah.
Gnolls, I don't even know what their intelligence is. It's not super high, though.
They're quite dumb.
Yeah. I'm going to assume a 6 or something.
Yeah. But it's almost comical, though, like how how cruel and intelligent they build them up to be compared to their physical traits and description.
It looks like a sick horse kind of thing.
Yeah,
It looks like something you'd ride, not something that's going to be the chief inquisitor of the Knoll.
Right, yes, but it has languages. It can speak Abyssal and Knoll. It will accompany the Flint into battle and give it strategic advice on its fights.
It has the deception skill listed, so it gets a +2 to deception.
Well, yeah, it can mimic other sounds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. I
which is
forgot
really
about
cool,
that part. Yeah, I mean that's where does it talk about that? But it can duplicate the call or vocal expressions of just about any creature it has heard. So it's perfect for setting up ambushes with gnolls, where it sits in the forest and makes the sound of something, whatever, to lure in people, and people come in, boom, gnoll attack. Oh, that's a really good way to lure in PCs. There is a mechanical check in there to where is it? Mimicry, DC 14 insight check to tell whether or not it's the real thing or if it's fake. That one's kind of weird because if it's like an actual ambush, I feel like I would almost give the players disadvantage because it'd be really weird if they're just walking through a forest, hear this noise, are not looking for gnolls at all, and then they're like, that sound of a crying child. That wasn't really a crying child. Like, you know, I'd give some disadvantage on that.
I'm a pretty skeptical guy, dude. When I hear a crying child, I'm like, that could definitely be an ambush.
And maybe
That kid's fine. I can tell.
maybe that's how your PC is. That's fine. I wouldn't argue it too much. But if you're looking for gnolls, I feel like that makes a lot more sense to just be a pure insight check. The insight or the DC could be a little bit variable, maybe, because 14 is not extremely high.
Yeah. Or you could play it where it's not perfect. And nowhere does it say it's a perfect replication.
You're right.
So if someone's just, insightful, they might just pick up on the fact that that's actually a little off. We should be on edge here.
Yeah, and that's fair.
I mean, even if you do a crying child, even if it's 100% real, I think the people should still be on edge. We're here in this forest and there's a crying child off to the side. That's a little weird.
Yeah. No, that's...
Why is there just a crying child here alone? I mean,
this is the forest of crying children. There's just hundreds of them. No idea where their parents are.
But it can do voices. It's not just sounds.
Yeah.
It can mimic someone's voice, which is kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any particularly... Well, I mean, really, it's just setting up a lot of ambushes, even behind a door during a gnoll attack. You've got this thing behind the door, and it's yelling out, "Help me! Help me! Help me!" And the PC fails their insight check, and they go in there like, "Oh God, there's a person in here. We need to get them out." And attack by a Leucrotta, maybe a surprise round if they fail their insight check as it pounces in. I mean, the thing, as you said, mechanically speaking, maybe not super interesting besides this mimicry, which I think you could get some interesting uses for. It also has its kicking retreat, which just not every single four-hooved animal has. If the Leucrotta attacks with its hooves, it can take the disengage action as a bonus action.
So here's actually a piece of flavor that kind of spins back into the mimicry. This is the kind of thing that I could see stalking a low-level party while it's being hunted by gnolls. I don't think the average gnoll is very inclined to run away, whereas this particular one, A, it's got a mechanic that can do that easily.
Right.
And B, it seems like if it's losing the battle, it'd rather run away, find more gnolls to ensure that it can torture these party members. So I could see it being
like
the thing
scout?
that stalks it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scout, or it like attacks the party, wipes out all the gnolls, and it's like, you know what, I'm going to try again because I really want to torture these guys. And now I know their voices.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how could you use the voices then?
You could mimic your own party members with the Leucrotta.
Okay. I mean, yes. I'm trying to think of a time where, like, you know, you hear your own party member's voice and they're like 5 feet away from you. And you're like,
you would have to split them up.
Right.
Which
is tough.
Yeah.
Because, you know, number one rule of D&D, don't split the party.
Yes.
So,
And
unless
it
you're the
depends
DM.
on your splits, you know, if it's people are going completely different directions or just not out of sight.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you bring up at some point, like, obviously no one goes into detail about it, but it's reasonable if it starts, if blah, 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 blah. If this is going to matter, take the time when a character is going to go off the side to go to the bathroom. Just like as the DM make a note, it's like, so at some point one of you needs to go off to go to the bathroom and the player says, yeah, I guess I would. And then have it happen at that point.
I got an idea. So the Leucrotta and some gnolls go in, and maybe you've got some NPCs with you. It's always a good one. And drags one of them off or a couple of them off.
Right.
And then it comes back, like you said, mimics one of the voices, crying for help, asking for them to come, whatever.
Yeah.
And then leads them into an ambush that way.
Yeah.
Could be pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, there's tons of like just mythology, mythical creatures within, like outside of D&D, like real world myths and stuff like that. That like the Wendigo, skinwalkers, Wendigo. I don't know.
The Winnebago?
The Winnebago.
Yes, the Winnebago. Yeah.
The mythical Winnebago.
Driving through the icy glaciers, hunting down people. To give them a recreational vacation wherever they drive.
Yeah, I think like skinwalkers and all those kind of mythological creatures and stuff that have like, Earth lore, not D&D lore.
Yeah.
The
All that
D&D
they have
stole.
Yeah, they have mimicry, and so
Right.
there's tons of like stories and stuff out there about how these are used and how these mythological creatures use these. So there's really tons of resources to look
Right.
it up and see.
Yeah, and if the thing is stalking you specifically, then as you said, it learns the sound of your party members' voices, other people's voices, whatever it might be. It gives you a lot of options.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah,
It also has rampage, of course. It's got to have its rampage.
yeah. Pretty much anything linked to a gnoll has a rampage, which is when it reduces a creature to 0 hit points with a melee attack on its turn. It can take a bonus action to make a move up to half its speed and make another attack.
It's
Yeah.
multi-attack. Oh, sorry. Were you going to say something on rampage?
Well, yeah, we did a gnoll encounter recently, and rampage did not come up once. And actually, running this gnoll encounter makes me want to kind of redact something we talked about in our gnoll episode. So in our gnoll episode, we didn't really do much with gnolls up to that point in terms of playing. We were just kind of reading stuff, and we were talking about how it would be really easy to scale gnolls up, like just with everything Vol's Guide to Monsters gives you on gnolls, to really high levels. I'm taking that back. So it was 4 level 7s, and that's ultimately what I tried to do. Because gnolls are like challenge rating 1/2. They're not particularly strong, but threw a lot of them at the party, and then some of the higher level stuff. But you guys still, like the individual, like the Gnoll War Party, you guys made very easy work of it.
Yeah.
To actually make it a challenge, it would have had to been like 30 gnolls at once, and no one wants to run that encounter.
No.
That's just insane.
No. But what if now, with this knowledge of the Leucrotta, if you threw that in instead of the hyenas that you had around that we,
Yeah.
ripped through really quickly, 'cause
Right.
they're hyenas.
Yeah.
If you replaced each of those with a Leucrotta, a challenge rating 3 thing,
Right.
it'd probably be a pretty different fight.
Yeah, so then you get into weird kind of flavor stuff. Like I could have also done there was one Flynn who was the leader of them all, and they had one Shusava and stuff like that, where they could have been harder fights where every like group of gnolls you met was led by a Shusava or a Flynn or something like that. But that's
Right.
just not how it works lore wise.
No,
It's just
yeah.
one of them. And I kind of get the impression that Leucrotta is a rare thing. I guess you could just say sure it has a bunch, but one of the things that
that's
makes
fair.
gnolls particularly scary and deadly is their ability to overwhelm as soon as they kind of get to the advantage to really run with it. That's where rampage comes in and stuff like that. When your party way out levels them, it doesn't matter if there's 15 of them. It's just their attacks are not going to hit much, and when they do, it's very little. They're just not dropping those characters down.
I think this is actually
to 0.
This is an interesting situation where the reason it doesn't scale well isn't so much mechanics but flavor. The mechanic doesn't scale at all, dropping people to 0, but the flavor is they're really just dumb as hell and evil.
Yeah.
This is not the kind of crafty kobolds where you can scale the encounter indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
And even with Volos, you've got a lot to work with, but at the same time, your party of 4 level 7s is still going to nuke these guys down really quick.
Yeah. Which is, exactly what you did. And like I said, in Lesai. So it was a big war party that ended up being like 55 gnolls, split into 3 smaller groups. And you guys took all 3 groups out very handily.
We took out 2.
Right. Oh, yeah.
The
then there
third one was...
Which you would have done it easily.
Yeah.
Someone else did it off camera, so I didn't have to run the encounter.
I regret sending them. We probably should have just gone alone to each separate party.
Morally speaking, you're right.
If they died,
Mechanically speaking, I was not really in the mood for another identical gnoll fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause if they were all combined together, if you faced the entire mass of the null party, that would have been a hard fight. But
Would have been a lot more fireballs thrown out.
yeah. But yeah. And also, I didn't want to run that. I don't
Yeah.
want to run 50 nulls. I mean, that's
Fine.
insane.
Well, we would have taken it out to 20 in about a turn or two.
Yeah. They would have been spread out.
Yeah.
Would have been smarter than that about it.
Yeah.
Cover the entire. Everybody has to.
Yeah, they're all just
everything off the
standing on
table.
their shoulders, compact as tight as they can in this 20-foot radius.
Well, I
sphere.
didn't know you guys had fireball.
We would have spread out. This isn't fair.
Unfair PCs. One thing that's somewhat interesting, their bite, when it crits, you roll the damage die 3 times instead of twice.
Yeah.
That's a cool mechanic. Not always. I don't see that on monsters very often. I actually
No.
can't think of another one
Like
off
a
the top of
brutal
my
critical
head.
for a monster.
Yeah, I mean that's cool. It also, I mean this one does some good damage. Honestly, like I hear what you're saying. You're right. Gnolls themselves do not scale very well. I think this thing is that kind of in between because a Flynn's a challenge rating 9, the Shusava's challenge rating 8.
Yeah.
They're both really high up there. You can't just throw those indefinitely. I'm not saying you can throw these indefinitely, but they add a little bit more intensity. And I mean, their hooves are really good. Just because it's a 2d6 plus 4 bludgeoning damage, great. But it disengages a bonus action, and their speed's 50 feet.
Right.
So they're running around. They're getting out of melee range. You just have to, make somebody else deal with them or find a way to deal with them like a booming blade.
Right.
Something that'll make them stay still. Or they'll just ignore it and take the damage. I mean, it's
They're not exactly spec to take damage all day. So
not all day, but challenge rating 367 health. That's pretty good.
That's all right.
Yeah, I mean,
Only 14 AC though.
yes, but for a challenge rating 3, again, that's party of 3. That's a medium encounter against one of these officially. I could see that being fairly difficult for a low-level party and mildly difficult. An additional challenge for a level 7 party. For a level 15 party, stop it. Stop trying to throw gnolls at them.
Yeah.
A roving band of Flynn's comes your way.
Hey man, who's gonna protect Inogu?
Flynn's. Yeah.
Just hundreds of Flynn's.
Maybe not hundreds. Well, you're not going to have a good combat against a demon lord. Oh yeah, this is properly scaled. I mean, what
It's supposed to be pretty tough.
demon lords are like
Yeah.
around 25 CR.
They vary,
they
but yeah.
So I mean, I
No,
don't.
they're not supposed to be fair encounters.
No, I don't want to
They're
fight
demon
Inogu.
lords. At level 20 though, I think it could be handled.
Yeah,
As
that's the point, right?
we keep talking about doing that kind of arena thing where we come to the table with level 20 characters
It's in
and
the
just
works.
fight all the crazy shit.
It's all
I think
up here.
a demon lord in that would be
Demon lord surrounded by Flynn's.
Our actual
no,
play
just a demon lord by
podcast.
itself.
No, you're gonna have to fight the Flynn's.
This is perfect for our actual play podcast where we play the multi-classes we shill and then fight the monsters we cover. We'll be fighting the Leucrotta with a monk cleric.
Oh no!
All right, well,
I lay on the ground. I lay on the ground and I let it eat me.
Please let me come back as a better multi-class.
That'd actually be a really interesting way if we went through, made a bunch of level 20 characters based on the multi-classes we did, and then to start the arena, you rolled 2d12s, and that was the multi-class you got to do today.
oh boy.
Your eyes just, surprise.
I mean, we missed stuff discussing this, playing them. Especially if it's like a double spellcast, you're like, oh crap.
Jumping in at level 20. Yeah, that'd be tough.
I don't disagree.
Yeah,
with that.
like again, something with that arena thing. I was thinking like, you know, this might be a good chance to really try out a druid because I haven't really played. And I was like, I don't want to jump into a druid at level 20.
No.
It's like I'm going to be so lost.
Yeah.
I haven't played one, so it's
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I'm not saying that is my my magnum opus of ideas. Just that would be a hilarious way to dunk on ourselves. Really, self dunk.
Look how little we know about the game we play all the time.
We've never played level 20 characters. It's the entire point of
Yeah.
it. But nobody has. I mean,
Nobody's ever
yeah.
gotten to level 20. It's crazy.
mythical.
it's one of those weird laws of the universe. If
Yeah.
your campaign is approaching level 20, something will happen and it'll fall apart.
Yep. DM just gets cancer. I don't know.
That's no.
Is that too extreme?
Yes.
TPK, not the real world.
Oh.
You're level 19, then you get hit by a bus in the real world. No. The campaign just falls apart.
Yeah,
too.
or I mean,
organizational issues.
Yeah, I mean like administrative.
Cancer
is wrong with you?
Organizational. I don't know. It gets in the way of a
Jesus.
lot of stuff. I don't know what's too far, Kevin. I
That.
threw up. That's too far. Okay.
Lines are drawn.
All right. Everybody play a level 20 campaign. You have no concerns. You won't get cancer.
That's true.
We can't promise that either, but
We can't promise you won't
we
get
need to
cancer.
stop talking about cancer. This is
Yeah,
not like a good
exactly.
fun
No.
topic.
Sorry.
Cancer and the monk cleric. We really fucked up today.
Oh, best episode so far.
You know, it's the worst part. I have nothing else to talk about the Leucrotta, so I think that's gonna be what we end on.
Is it? What about it's?
It smells bad.
It smells bad. Yes.
Yes.
Hodgepodge body oozes a foul stench that pollutes anywhere the creature layers. You know, I actually wish that included some,
Mechanic.
mechanical thing of like, you know, when you're within 5 feet of it, you have to make a Constitution saving throw.
Right.
I've seen that a lot of times.
It was an
Yeah.
interesting omission because it is pretty common.
Yeah. So, you know, that's one way to spice that up if you want to.
Oh, I needed
Yeah.
a challenge rating 4 Leucrotta.
Right.
Smells bad and makes people vomit when they come up to it.
Lose your action is usually a good one.
Yeah, you retch for a turn.
Yeah. It looks stinky.
It does.
It really is a comical enemy, just like how evil and how gross it is.
Yeah.
It reminds me of those like children's horror stories. Like
Yeah,
scary
if you're a
stories.
bad
It's like,
bad
this
kid.
This is like not the kind of thing that should be sold at the Scholastic Book Fair. It's too scary.
All right.
What was that real famous one called?
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yes, that. Isn't there a show coming about that?
Oh,
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this would be a good one to throw in.
Remember the?
It does remind me of, like, as you said, like just the chupacabras and things of that nature in the real world.
Do you guys remember the Scary Story to Tell in the Dark, where the guy made a scarecrow of the guy he didn't like and beat him up all the time, and then it came to life, and
No.
then literally skinned the guy and nailed his skin to the top of the barn.
Jesus.
No, I don't. Those really were
Yeah, it was
dark.
too much. It was like I was like 4th grade when I bought that. Literally skinned the guy and nailed his skin to the barn.
Those are such good books. I feel like I'd appreciate them more now compared to that.
They're great.
Yeah.
I love them.
Because I feel like as a kid, it's just like, that's all right. Let me put that down. Now we could get a lot of inspiration from them for our D&D campaigns.
That's where all my D&D knowledge comes from. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
All right. Yeah, that's a good place to call
All right, there we go.
it. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
We'll do better next week.
Next week on Monsters and Multiclass.
Join us as we dive into the Fighter Rogue Multiclass and the Leviathan from Mordekainen's Tome of Foes.